Football today.
Saturday, February 7th, Conor McGregor will be in the building for Knuckle Mania 6. In the main event, heavyweights collide as champ Ben Rothwell defends against Andrei Arlovski. In the co-main event, we find out who's the #1 pound-for-pound bare-knuckle fighter in the world. It's Lorenzo the Juggernaut Hunt versus Dave Redneck Mundell. Plus, a heated rematch ignites as Tony Loco Soto runs it back with Ben the Bomber Bonner. And the women bring pure intensity as Jade Massam Wong faces Crystal the Rugged Beauty Pittman. For how to watch live, go to bkfc.com for more info.
How about selling it to a minority ownership group that could show the NFL is moving in the right direction? Hey, it's one thing to talk about black coaches in the National Football League. It's one thing to talk about black general managers. It's another thing to start talking about a minority owner owning the football team.
Outspoken with Dan Cilio, only on SportsGrid.
Gosh, I really do like the storylines with these open field events. Like I want us to expand these signature events to bigger fields because I really do like the Joel Damon story, the Andrew Putnam story. It's part of the PGA Tour and what makes it so good. So I don't know where they're going to eventually end up on all of this.
The Smiley Show, only on SportsGrid.
They cheated.
No, they're not saying that. Well, they're not, but they're not really giving a reason on Kraft.
The only two of the voters I've seen, maybe it's more, came out and said why they didn't vote for him. And they said, I'm limited to 3 votes.
Yeah.
And I will always pick a player over a coach or an owner.
Right.
By the way, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Because that's the guy saying, I'm not afraid of you knowing who I picked. I'm going to tell you why I picked him.
The Craig Carton Show, only on SportsGrid.
And what's going on, my friends? Welcome in. It is In-Game Live Game Day on a fabulous, yes, Football Friday. We haven't said that in a long time, but we do have football coming up this weekend, Super Bowl 60. Little event in San Francisco that we will definitely take a peek on. We got some NBA, we got some college basketball, but it is basically Super Bowl. It's picks, it's props, it's analysis, it's everything you can break down with Super Bowl 60 just now, a couple of days away. Thank goodness. And we got some Olympics. And we found out today why Olympics are really not for sports fans. However, we found out that the poly market, the prediction market, is apparently for sports players. We'll get to it all over the next 2 hours. Myself, Brady Cannon, sitting in for Gabriel Morency today. What's going on, Brady? How are you this evening?
I'm good, man. Good to be with you once again, Scott. And I guess Gabe had a great day out in San Francisco. I don't know if he's sticking around for the game, but great to be back here on the doorstep of Super Bowl 60, if you will. Just like you say, roughly 48 hours remaining before we kick it off. I guess less than 48 hours at this point. But yeah, it kind of feels like we're finally here and going to break down some props tonight. Good college basketball game getting ready to tip off in the Garden right now. But we're almost there, my friend.
Yeah, and that's where I'll begin with our opening pickoff. First 4 plays, I have St. John's and UConn square it off. Should be an electric atmosphere at Madison Square Garden. I'm going to grab, I'll just let them kind of beat each other up a little bit here and figure out who's going to win. I think it's going to be UConn, I do. But I'm going to go with the over 143.5, 144.5. Normally, in this kind of situation, defenses do take over, but you know what? I just think there's too much offense on the courts. St. John's can run and gun with the best of them. So can UConn. UConn can play some good defense. But St. John's is playing great basketball. They've won 8 straight. UConn's won, 18, 19 in a row. I think we get to a modest 144, 145 points. So opening pickoff, opening play for me, over 143.5, 144.5 St. John's, UConn.
Yeah, I understand where you're going there. I'm going to take the Johnnies. I'm going to take the home dog. And I saw a lot of people that, I think most people would feel that UConn is the better team. I think Ken Pom has the Huskies at number 8, the Johnnies at number 20, if I recall. but the line has actually been moving down just a touch. I think it opened at 2. I saw it as low as 1. A lot of people are making a scuffle about, the St. John's has played very weak opponents. And you mentioned the winning streak. But again, the line is moving towards the home dog. And I kind of agree with that. I think Patino will have his guys ready. Ought to be a good one. Obviously, it's pretty much a pick 'em here. Take your pick who you think's going to win the game. I'll take the Red Storm.
All right. Next one is my Southern Illinois Salukis in action tonight as they take on, a halfway decent Murray State team. Over-under is 157.5. Southern has long been known as an under team. They had a stretch last year where they had some overs, and even earlier this year they had some overs, but they're on a 9-1 under run. They're at home where they can control tempo. You're getting a monster number, 157.5 or so, depending on where you do your shopping. 9-1 under, Salukis at home, controlling the tempo. Give me the under.
You know what, Scott? I'm going to go to the NBA here, and this one's getting ready to tip off here pretty quickly as well. I got my email from the people over at BetMGM today, and they give the betting splits, some of the numbers there. The 5th highest ticket count in the NBA tonight was on the New Orleans Pelicans. I remember on Wednesday, you're talking about this team, and apparently everybody's running to the window to bet the Pelicans catching 8.5 against the Timberwolves. Now, I know they've got some players out. They didn't really make any moves at the trade deadline, but since that has come and gone, it feels to me like that was a bit of a distraction. They're kind of waiting, where's the big move going to be? That is now in the rearview mirror, and I think they pay attention to more defense tonight. They kind of reset and they get their act together, and let's face it, it's the Pelicans, and apparently they're taking the bulk of the action. So I'll go the other way. I'll take Minnesota to cover the 8.5.
All right. My next one's NBA as well. We had a similar situation the other day. I forget who Milwaukee was playing. They were it's against New Orleans, against the Pelicans. They were getting 4.5, and I'm like, you want to give me 4.5 against the New Orleans Pelicans on the road? I'll take it. And sure enough, Milwaukee won. Right? Trade deadline comes and goes. Giannis doesn't get moved. I think that's going to settle this team in a little bit. I don't know if they're necessarily going to make a playoff run. Giannis isn't playing still. But again, you want to give me Milwaukee, basically pick them -1.5, +1.5, depending on where you do your shopping, at home against a lousy Indiana team this season. I'll take my chances. Like I said, I think it's addition by subtraction, even though no one moved. I just think that trade deadline has been hanging over this franchise for the last really month and a half. And you can even go back to the beginning of the season when Giannis made it apparent that he wanted to be traded to the New York Knicks. So now that it's done, now that we know who's going to be there, I think we get a better effort out of Milwaukee. They won the other night. I think they win again at home, lay the 1.5 against Indiana.
Yeah, it all makes sense. It's kind of the same argument I'm making with the Minnesota Timberwolves, but I'm going to go the other way here against you tonight and take the Pacers laying the 1.5. And I go back to my friends at BetMGM who pointed out that the 3rd highest ticket count tonight at their shop is the Milwaukee Bucks catching 1.5. But if you look at the 2nd highest handle, which side has the 2nd most money tonight in the NBA at BetMGM? It's the Pacers. So I'm going to follow the money here rather than the tickets and take the short favorite here. I think it is a little bit telling that, like you say, the Pacers, a lousy team, but yet they're a road favorite. To me, that says something. So I'll ride with Indiana here.
All right. My last one, NBA as well, tipping off here in a little bit. I'm going to grab, believe it or not, I never thought I would do this, but give me the under in a New Orleans game against Minnesota like you spoke about. They've actually played a little bit better basketball, a little bit more competitive, and with that, they've actually played just a little bit more defense. 236 now. That's a lot of points, man. That really is a lot of points. I'm just going to take a stab. This doesn't get that high. Not that I expect a low-scoring game by any stretch, but 115, 110, 120 to 110. Heck, 120 to 115 is still under. I mean, that's when you start rattling off the scores, Brady, and you realize, geez, that's still not an over. 120 to 115 is still not an over. No, it's not. So. Little hunch play under 236.5 New Orleans and Minnesota.
Well, you'll like this. Good news. I go back to the data here at BetMGM, and the 5th highest ticket count as far as totals are concerned is the over in New Orleans and Minnesota.
Okay.
So
Good.
So yeah, and you opposite picks. We like to be
There you
contrarian. Yeah, if the masses are betting the over, let's go under and get it home, Scott.
Absolutely. So, all right. So our opening pickoffs are in. I'm going to grab the over in the UConn St. John's game. They just tipped off. I'm going to grab the under in the Murray State Southern Illinois game. They just tipped off as well. I got Milwaukee laying a 1.5 or plus 1.5 again, depending on where you do your shopping. And I'll take a little stab on the under 236.5 New Orleans and Minnesota. You see Brady's picks there. He's got St. John's plus the 1.5, Minnesota laying the 8. And then Indiana minus 1.5. So the first of many, many, many plays that no doubt Brady and I will have over the next hour and a half, 2 hours or so. Light night, not obviously no hockey, right? It is amazing. Now, I'm a decent hockey guy, and I know you are as well. But even if you're not, there does seem to be this void of just like, okay, there's college basketball and NBA. That's really it. There's no hockey. That's kind of fall back. Nope, that's it. So plenty of time to get into the Super Bowl previews. Found a couple of decent ones. Every day, Brady, I try and look a little bit more and more without getting too, overwhelmed with the whole process, because you do just get beaten down sometimes. Sometimes you just got to get up from the computer and just like walk away and just say, wow, it's a little too much. So found a couple of new ones. That I thought we were going to be halfway decent, so we'll go over those here in a little bit. We got Adam Kaplan joining us in about a half hour or so, our NFL analyst. He'll give us some insights from San Francisco on the Super Bowl. Tommy Lorenzo will join us as well in about an hour or so. He'll give us his picks, including supposedly some crazy Super Bowl parlay that I'm looking forward to hearing from Tommy in about an hour or so. So, plenty to get to. In-game live game day on the grid underway during a Friday night.
Heads or tails? Over or under? Seahawks, Patriots. Don't stress. SportsGrid breaks it all down.
They are locks.
We can capitalize.
We're going to see a ton of over money.
Props, expert guests, and smart insight leading up to the big game.
Oh my God, if Sam Darnold wins the Super Bowl.
Only on SportsGrid.
They actually play Miami and nobody else. Bum after bum after bum. Now, the key ingredient to this clause, though, Joe, college football undefeated season. Ooh, no, wait, Donnie. You go undefeated in the regular season, you got to win like 4 games to win that championship. No, you don't. It's regular season. Notre Dame, the kings of duck, and say, hey, we're going to play the easiest schedule ever. They got it.
The Early Line. Only on SportsGrid.
They weren't giving it to...
Oh, it's a good point.
They weren't giving it to Nick Bonito. No, but I'm saying Bonito's a great player.
Yeah.
But he's not a household name.
Right.
You survey 100 NFL or 1,000 NFL fans, they're not picking Nick Bonito out of a hat before Myles Garrett and Micah Parsons.
Right.
And that's, when you get down to this award, that's the problem.
Pro Football Today. Only on SportsGrid.
February 7th, Xfinity Mobile Arena.
This is the most entertaining fighting in fighting, man.
Fight fans of Philly! Knucklemania 6 in Philly.
All right, welcome back. It is In-Game Live Game Day here on the Grid. Scott and Brady Ken sitting in for Gabriel Morency tonight as we take you to 10 p.m. Eastern Time. Busy show, a lot of Super Bowl talk. We'll keep an eye on the NBA and college basketball, but for the most part, Super Bowl talk. We got Adam Kaplan coming up in about 20, 25 minutes or so, and then Tommy Lorenzo from Cover the Weekend podcast. He's the host for one of the weekend shows. Tommy joins us from time to time. Haven't spoken to him in a little while, so it'll be good to hear from him again. Before we get into it all, Brady, I don't know if you saw the story there about Giannis buying into Kalshi. He's actually joining. Listen, they may not call themselves a gambling service, but they could live in the fantasy world if they want to. But ultimately, it's a sports book. That's what it is. Gambling. It just happens to be able to get through the loopholes and not technically be a sports book. And they're in states that doesn't really have legalized sports gambling. So somehow or another, he's becoming an investor in Kalshi. Doesn't say how much, the story I read doesn't say how much he's investing, but I'm guessing it's, a substantial amount they're going to make a story about. He's going to be the face of the franchise, if you will. And it's just, I don't know, every time we think we've hit a line in the sand where, okay, sports and gambling and players and owners and leagues, they're not going to cross this. And then we get a story where it crosses that line. I mean, how in the world does the NBA allow a guy to be a major shareholder, I'm assuming, in a gambling house? I mean, don't they have lines on Milwaukee Buck games? I'm assuming they do. Don't they have, MVP votes? I'm assuming they do. I mean, he has insights to all this stuff. It's just, like I said, I don't care about any kind of potential rigging, or I don't think that's going to happen, but I'm just amazed at how far we keep on pushing that envelope down the table. I mean, I don't know what is next. Maybe what's next is just, NHL, NBA, NFL, baseball says, screw, FanDuel, screw DraftKings, screw Kalshi. We're just going to have our own book, and try and do what the Four Letter Network did. And just, you want to make a bet on hockey? Go to NFL or NHL.com and gamble on hockey. Maybe that's the next step. I don't know.
I don't know either, Scott, but it's really interesting, this age that we live in as far as sports betting, and PASPA passing, what is that, almost 10 years, 8 years ago now or something like that. But I remember way back when, here in Las Vegas, when Tony Romo was supposed to host a fantasy football, not a convention, but a get together, what have you, a gala at like the Venetian Resort. And this was probably 10 years ago or more, maybe 12 years ago. It was canceled. They said, no, this rubs elbows too closely with gambling. He can't do it, blah, blah, blah. Okay, well, now what are we, 4 years in? We have the Las Vegas, we have a professional football team here last time I checked. We have a professional hockey team. The world capital of gambling, for, the most recognizable place anyway. I remember I was at G2E working for SportsGrid, have the last few years at that convention. That's the global gaming convention. There are now slot machines with the NFL shield on the machine. So now, okay, is it a prediction market? Is it a sports book? LeBron James is pitching DraftKings, and now Giannis is behind Kalshi. I mean, it's good for you and I. It's good for SportsGrid. It's good for content and gambling, the sports betting business, right? But at the same time, you're right. It's crazy. And is it really good for sports bettors? Are we getting the best fair shake from all these books anymore? I mean, it's pretty crazy where it's come in so many different ways. And I think a lot of professional bettors out there would tell you it's gotten worse for them because of, the unification, the publicity, where it's now all above board, so it's just crazy. The times that what we've witnessed in the last 15 years in sports betting and gambling all over the world, really. And like, you kind of allude to, what's next? I don't know. Yeah. Where do we go from here?
It's amazing.
Are you and I open up a book? Can we take books on bets on the air here?
Yeah,
we do that?
That's what I'm thinking. I said this like many years, but many, I mean, 2, 3, 4, 5 years ago. I do believe in our lifetime, and I'm talking within the next 2 to 3 years tops, you're going to be able to go into your local delicatessen, your local 5 and dime store, if you will, old school, and be just like you go buy a lotto ticket, you're going to be able to make a bet. I really believe that's where it's going to go. It's going to be that easy. You just, instead of buying $5 in lotto tickets, you'll put a $5, same game parlay in or something, something goofy like that. Yeah. I do think that's the next step. But even that's not that big a deal, right? I mean, even that's not that big a deal.
It's not. It's the same thing as buying a lottery ticket, I guess, right?
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see if and when it's going to happen eventually, I got to believe. But when are Texas and California going to come around? I mean,
and Florida too.
Well, but they have they're legal. They just have like one
on the Indian reservations.
Right?
Right. Yeah, if you go to the Indian reservation, it's legal there.
And that's confusing. California has a lot of Indian reservation influence as well.
Yeah. With all the liberalization, if you will, of California, right? The most liberal state there is, and Texas, not necessarily liberal, but freedom, rights, guns,
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, conservative, but you have your right. If you want to do something, you could do it in Texas, right? And yet those are two states that still haven't.
I know.
I don't know how that's possible, right? Does that make any sense to you?
Well, I grew up in Northern California, and I was encouraging all my friends, because it was 3 years ago where it was on the ballot. And I said, guys, vote yes. I mean, come on, and they're all sports fans and whatever. And I mean, it didn't even come close. It got walloped in the betting. And I'm like, or in the voting. And I'm like, what's going on? Apparently, what I've heard, a theory, is that Californians are very scared because when the lottery rolled out, it's going to go to education, it's going to take care of this, it's going to take care of that. It hasn't done any of that. And so now they have lost faith in any of these programs that are going to, really provide any help. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. All right, quick little break, then we'll hit the scoreboard. A shocking, I'm not exaggerating, shocking score in the NBA, which makes absolutely no sense. Really, two of them. And then the big college basketball game is underway in Madison Square Garden. We'll update the lines when we come back to Game 5.
Heads or tails? Over or under? Seahawks, Patriots. Don't stress. SportsGrid breaks it all down.
They are locks.
We can capitalize.
We're going to see a ton of over money.
Props, expert guests, and smart insight leading up to the big game.
Oh my God, if Sam Darnold wins the Super Bowl.
Only on SportsGrid.
They actually play Miami and nobody else. Bum after bum after bum. Now, the key ingredient to this clause, though, Joe, college football undefeated season. Ooh, no, wait, Donnie. You go undefeated in the regular season, you got to win like 4 games to win that championship. No, you don't. It's regular season. Notre Dame, the kings of duck, and saying, hey, we're going to play the easiest schedule ever. They got it.
The Early Line. Only on SportsGrid.
They weren't giving it to...
that's a good point.
They weren't giving it to Nick Bonito. No, but I'm saying Bonito's a great player.
Yeah.
But he's not a household name.
Right.
You survey 100 NFL or 1,000 NFL fans, they're not picking Nick Bonito out of a hat before Myles Garrett and Micah Parsons.
Right.
And that's, when you get down to this award, that's the problem.
Pro Football Today. Only on SportsGrid.
February 7th, Xfinity Mobile Arena.
This is the most entertaining fighting in fighting, man.
Fight fans of Philly! Knucklemania 6 in Philly.
And welcome back. It is In-Game Live Game Day here on the Grid. Scott and Brady, hour number one. We got Adam Kaplan live from San Francisco coming up in a couple of moments. In the meantime, let's take a poke at what's going on around the NBA and college basketball here. Brady, I mentioned at the break, Celtics, really two scores, but this is probably maybe the more surprising because they're at home. Celtics down 18. That's a surprise. They're down 18 to Miami. That's a surprise. And they're down 18 to Miami at home. Or the Celtics. Midway actually in the second quarter, 45, and surprise number 4, maybe I buried the lead. They only have 27 points in a quarter and a half against the Miami Heat that can't spell defense, let alone play it. I think they had 15 points after the first quarter. I mean, I don't know what's going on with Boston tonight. They're getting 8.5 now. That they were about 7 to 8 point favorite. They have to make a comeback somewhere along the line, don't they? I mean, I might bite on that 8.5, but they're down 45-27. Who is Jaylen Brown not playing again tonight? He didn't play the other day.
Right. He's not in the lineup. And, it didn't matter the other night.
Oh, no, he is playing. He's playing tonight.
Really?
Brown is in there. Yeah, he's got 10 points. Yeah.
Oh, my God. Okay, I thought I saw him listed as out. Maybe it was just questionable. But I'm with you, Scott. I would take the points. I mean, this team went off again as a 7-some 8 point favorite, what have you. Yeah. I have to believe that this is not going to be a one-way street the entire time. I mean, is it really going to be like a 15-point swing versus what the original point spread was? Is the underdog going to, win outright by that many? I would tend to believe no. So I would take probably take the Celtics in that situation. I think the Pistons score is a little bit shocking too. Knicks have been playing so well. That number was 3.5 or 4. They're up by 17, about the same point in the game here, just a little more than midway through the second quarter. 47-30 in favor of Detroit. Now a 13.5 point favorite in the live market.
Yeah, that shot up to 4. I saw just before tip-off, right? That was 1.5. And really, I think I saw I generally, my kind of routine is after the show, get a bite to eat, and I look at the lines for the next day just to kind of get a sense of where they're going. And I think, I want to say Detroit was favored or the Knicks were favored, and then it flipped, only by 1.5. And then it flipped with the other team being favored. I think it was the Knicks originally, then Detroit. And then I saw it, like I said, before tip-off, it went up to 4. And I thought, okay, maybe Brunson's not playing, but he's playing. Anthony Towns is not playing. Cat's not playing. There you go. Maybe that was a late announcement.
Most of the day, or when I started looking at it earlier this afternoon on the West Coast, it was 3.5. But you're right, it did spike to 4 in a few different shops, not long before tip-off.
Yeah, this was kind of a battle of systems I have. One is, you bet on the team that's on a winning streak, which the Knicks are, they won 8 straight. But then the other one is I like to bet on the team that is facing a team that eliminated them from the playoffs the year before, which the Knicks did with Detroit. So it's kind of like, which system supersedes.
That equals stay away, right?
That's what it should be. It should be stay away, yes. But there were so few games tonight. It's like, I got to have something. So I ended up taking the Knicks. The winners bet win streak system overtook the revenge system. But so far, not good. So I would take the Celtics plus the 8.5. The Knicks are plus 13.5. Down 17. I think I would take a flyer on that even. That's a pretty, are the Knicks going to get blown out? Maybe, maybe, but that's a pretty fat number, 13.5 points.
It is. I would be with you there. Minnesota going according to plan, the way I like it to right now, so far anyway. Just a very slim lead, but 23-20. They lead New Orleans. New Orleans got out to a lead to begin. They're not even through the first quarter yet. And we're right where we started the game with Minnesota being an 8.5 point favorite. That's exactly where we are in the live market as well. 23-20. 3.5 minutes left in the first quarter. And the Pacers and the Bucks going according to plan. This was pretty much a pick 'em. And Milwaukee up by a point, 15-14. Pacers still a 1.5 point favorite in the live market.
All right. St. John's and then UConn, the college basketball game. I don't have lines on that, but I'll check an offshore site that I
got it.
I like to look at. You got it. St. John's leading by 3 right now. What's the line?
It's a pick 'em. They're favored by a half. Is St. John's. Okay.
Okay.
That's on FanDuel. 19-16, just about halfway through the first half, 11 minutes left in the first half. And St. John's up by 3. And of course, prior to tip off, they were getting a point or so. Now they're basically laying a half.
Football talk, Adam Kaplan, live from San Fran, coming up next.
Heads or tails? Over or under? Seahawks, Patriots. Don't stress. SportsGrid breaks it all down.
They are locks.
We can capitalize.
We're going to see a ton of over money.
Props, expert guests, and smart insight leading up to the big game.
Oh my God, if Sam Darnold wins the Super Bowl.
Only on SportsGrid.
They actually play Miami and nobody else. Bum after bum after bum. Now, the key ingredient to this clause, though, Joe, college football undefeated season. Ooh, no, wait, Donnie. You're undefeated in the regular season. You got to win like 4 games to win that championship. No, you don't. It's regular season. Notre Dame, the kings of duck, and saying, hey, we're going to play the easiest schedule ever. They got it.
The early line. Only on SportsGrid.
They weren't giving it to...
That's a good point.
They weren't giving it to Nick Benito. No, but I'm saying Benito's a great player.
Yeah.
But he's not a household name.
Right.
You know, you survey 100 NFL or 1,000 NFL fans, they're not picking Nick Benito out of a hat before Myles Garrett and Micah Parsons.
Right.
And that's, you know, when you get down to this award, that's the problem.
Pro Football Today. Only on SportsGrid.
February 7th, Xfinity Mobile Arena.
This is the most entertaining fighting in fighting, man.
Fight fans of Philly! Knucklemania 6 in Philly.
Hey, welcome back. It is in-game live game day here on a Football Friday. Scott and Brady Cannon sitting in for Gabriel Morency until 10 p.m. Eastern time, looking at the action, including obviously Super Bowl 60 on Sunday. With that, let's head out to San Francisco, bringing our good buddy Adam Kaplan, who you see it here all the time right here on the grid, our NFL extraordinaire. What's going on, Adam? How are you today? Long time no speak.
Yeah, good to see you, Scott. Yeah, exactly. You and I go way back, but yeah, good to see Brady there, and it's been a fun week. This is my 25th Media Row. They used to call it Radio Row, and they now call it Media Row because of the podcasters. But it's great. It's great being here. It's been a fun week, and I would tell you as we get started here, I could see why the Seahawks are a 4.5-point favorite. If you just judge by what the fans are wearing, which it's not a way to bet, but it is heavy Seahawks paraphernalia out here in downtown San Francisco.
Wow.
And not necessarily Seahawk territory, a division rival there in the home of the 49ers, Adam.
Exactly.
You know, Scott and I were just mentioning a couple segments ago, you know, if everybody's going one way in sports betting, sometimes we like to go the other way. With all this love, apparently, for the Seahawks out there in San Francisco, are you kind of thinking the Patriots are going to show up here on Sunday?
Look, Brady, one of the reasons why they're here, which I'll admit I did not expect this. I thought maybe 8 or 9 wins would be a great season for them, and they thought otherwise. Coaching matters. I mean, this is Mike Vrabel, who I voted for Coach of the Year for Pro Football Writers Association, and the AP voters agreed with me because they voted for him to be Coach of the Year, and Josh McDaniels was my assistant Coach of the Year. AP agreed with me. Coaching is incredible. There's no way with a roster like this. It's not a criticism. It's just a fact. They don't have a great roster. And yes, they've had a nice schedule, but you can only play who's on your schedule, Brady, but think about this. Week 1, they lose at home to the Raiders. How are they here? Yeah. Great coaching. Drake May, who was my breakout player of the year in terms of voting for Pro Football Writers Association. He was my runner-up, by the way. In my vote, I voted for Stafford. But Drake May was right there. I just didn't see this. This was not – Drake May was a kid out of North Carolina. A lot of people I respect, Brady, in the NFL business, was overdrafted, wondered if he could be coached because he played very wild, very inaccurate, not great decision-making. As Brian Hoyer told me, the former Patriots quarterback this week, he's now the NFL's most accurate quarterback. How could you know this? This is on your question and what New England's got to do. Everything we just talked about, May's got to play great. He's got to be coached great. And they got to be aggressive. And Mike Vrabel cannot micromanage. He's got to let him throw the football because how do you beat Seattle? Throw the football against those corners.
What do you make of his play out of the last 2 weeks, which obviously have not been, well, 2 games, not been great. What do you make of that?
Scott, it's fair to bring it up. Now, I always say context matters. What did they do in Denver? Well, you couldn't throw the football because a snowstorm came. Unfortunately, Sean Payton did get the memo about the hour forecast, but Vrabel did.
Yeah.
They smartly just ran the ball, and Drake May actually can run the football. He did when the pocket broke down. If he ever dropped back, he ran, but he didn't turn it over. They were able to win the game. Now, that's not going to happen. Weather conditions will not be a factor in this game. You're going to have to throw the football. It's just the only way they win. They're not going to win by running it. That's not going to happen. Which would tell you I like the under in the rushing yards for Stevenson. No, but anyway, it's going to be hard for them. I know they're not great at receiver. I do like the over in Matt Collins yards because Matt Collins, guys, he won a Super Bowl with Eagles in 2017, 9 years ago. So why is he in the league? Because he could flat out fly.
Adam, you're kind of you got my wheels turning here as far as the prop bets. You're talking about how you kind of foresee this game playing out, and you allude to rushing yards and this and that and the other. Scott and I both like Drake May to throw an interception in this game, and the price is about minus 140. He's a decent sized favorite. And maybe that is in line with your thinking that in order for New England to win this game, they're going to have to be aggressive. He's going to have to throw the ball. And we know how good this defense is. I think there's a good chance he'll throw an interception in this game, win or lose.
Yeah, number one scoring defense. It's now Matthew Stafford. Hey, that was an incredible game. I did pick the Rams, so I'm a little bit sore on that one. But you could throw against Seattle, guys, but it is hard to run against them. Yeah, they had a couple games where, okay, they gave up points, but it's going to be hard. You can probably tell by the way I'm talking. I definitely believe New England will cover this number. Now, could I change my mind the next 48 hours? Of course I can. As I get more information, look at it a little bit harder. But my gut feeling Friday, although I love the Patriots to win with my friends who work for the Patriots, but it's just going to be hard. And I know people, Brady, don't want to give the Patriots any credit for being here. God forbid they win the game. Oh, my God. The people can't stand Brady, the Patriots, and think they're a fraud. I mean, I don't know what they'll do with themselves if the Patriots win.
Yeah. I still can't get over the fact, Adam, they put in Adam Vinatieri in the Hall of Fame, but not Bill Belichick or even Robert Kraft, I mean, how goofy is that? But
it is. No, I agree with you. In fact, I don't vote for Hall of Fame, but absolutely I would have put Belichick in. I know that the Hall of Fame voters shot this down. There was a secret agreement to wait a year to make Belichick wait. It's ridiculous. He's getting in. Why play games? But that's a 30 for 30. That stuff, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Adam, I want to ask you while we're talking about the Hall of Fame, a guy I grew up watching in the Bay Area, and I think he is deserved of being there. But there is some controversy about Roger Craig. What is your feeling about Roger Craig getting into the Hall of Fame?
Brady, one of the best receiving backs in NFL history. He had the high kick, the high knees, the way he would run, very unique running style. That I've had a term almost Hall of Fame. It's you can see it in baseball. They're just below. I'm doing this without looking at numbers, but of his day, he was the best receiving back. Or certainly one of the best. It's certainly debatable, but he was a high character guy, great football player, product of the Walsh system. There's no question about it. Built in the West Coast offense, the backs got the football. I think he's deserving. Now again, I don't vote, so it's not like I had time to research this. But on your question, I'm old enough to remember him, number 33, without looking. This is what we could figure out what numbers were players. Now they can pick whatever they want. I have no idea who how is a quarterback wearing number 17 or number 1? How is Micah Parsons number 1? Why? What? They let the players do that.
Yeah. I remember him. He was a really good player. I don't know necessarily Hall of Fame. Really good, and there's no shame in being a really good player. There seems to be this knock on him. Like almost.
You guys will like this. I saw a comment on social media where some guy was making a case that Roger Craig shouldn't be in there. And Carl Banks, the great New York Giants linebacker, said, "Easy for you to say when you didn't play against him." Basically saying he's where he belongs.
The knees. Yeah, his knees, as you got, folks, for the young people watching us here on SportsGrid, watch his highlight videos because he had one of the most unique running styles I've ever seen. When he got in space, I'm sure he hurt people with the way that he ran. And never seen a running style like that, to be honest with you.
Yeah. Crazy. What's been the buzz? Is a lot of people still talking Marshawn Lynch and Russell Wilson? Has that been a big focus this week?
In terms of what?
Just buzz, people talking. Has that been a hot topic?
So every week, right? Every week, this is my 25th, right, of coming to Media Row. There's always whether it's a coach getting into trouble, unfortunately, my first Super Bowl, for people old enough, Barrett Robbins when he went AWOL with the Raiders.
Oh, yeah.
I was working. I remember. It was Barrett Robbins there was the Raiders Super Bowl in San Diego, the last one there in 2002. It was my first Super Bowl. And we're like, how could this guy go? We didn't know about the mental problems then, but yeah, that was the biggest controversy I remember.
Yeah, crazy. So, all right, so final prediction. What do you give me a score? What do you think it's going to be?
Right now, I've got it. The Patriots 20, the Seahawks 26.
Oh,
wow.
You like that? You like
a little wrinkle in there. Very nice. Adam Kaplan, live from San Fran. Thanks, Adam. Appreciate it.
Heads or tails? Over or under? Seahawks, Patriots. Don't stress. SportsGrid breaks it all down.
They are locks.
We can capitalize.
We're going to see a ton of over money.
Props, expert guests, and smart insight leading up to the big game.
Oh my God, if Sam Darnold wins the Super Bowl.
Only on SportsGrid.
They actually play Miami and nobody else. Bum after bum after bum. Now, the key ingredient to this clause, though, Joe, college football undefeated season. Ooh, no, wait, Donnie. You go undefeated in the regular season, you got to win 4 games to win that championship. No, you don't. It's regular season. Notre Dame, the kings of duck, and saying, hey, we're going to play the easiest schedule ever. They got it.
The Early Line. Only on SportsGrid.
They weren't giving it to...
that's a good point.
They weren't giving it to Nick Bonito. No, but I'm saying Bonito's a great player.
Yeah.
But he's not a household name.
Right.
You survey 100 NFL or 1,000 NFL fans, they're not picking Nick Bonito out of a hat before Myles Garrett and Micah Parsons.
Right.
And that's, when you get down to this award, that's the problem.
Pro Football Today. Only on SportsGrid.
February 7th, Xfinity Mobile Arena.
This is the most entertaining fighting in fighting, man.
Fight fans of Philly! Knucklemania 6 in Philly.
right, welcome back. It is In-Game Live Game Day here on the Grid. Scott and Brady in for Gabe today. Thanks again, Adam Copeland, for joining us. It's live from San Francisco. And, I brought up the Super Bowl thing. I was watching before our show, Four Letter Network, Brady. Had one of those recaps of the Super Bowl with the interception and everything, and Marshawn Lynch not getting the ball. We all know the story, right? So I must say, typical Four Letter Network, right? So everybody's mic'd up, which nowadays it really is amazing. All of the players, the coaches, everyone's mic'd up, right? So the whole thing is, all right, you decide to pass on 2nd and goal from the 1 versus give the ball to Marshawn Lynch, right? So I'm all anxious, waiting for the conversation between Pete Carroll and his offensive coordinator and who knows who else on why they decided to pass the ball versus run. And right, everyone's all mic'd up, and they skip right through that part. They get to 2nd down, which was 1st and goal from the 5. If you remember that great catch that Curse made falling down, right? They ran the ball. They got it down to the 1-inch line, right? And I'm all, like I said, pumped up. All right, let's see what went into the decision. And they just skip right over. I mean, they show the play, obviously, but they don't get into the conversation, which is what I was waiting for an hour and a half to watch this thing. So that's still a great mystery to me. That would have been, I would have been curious to hear what they, decided on why they decided to pass the ball, but they blew it off. They didn't give us that insight.
I have to assume, he was right here in this town for this entire season, no longer here, that being Pete Carroll. I got to believe somebody's asking him that question before. I've never really heard the answer. Yeah. I remember that Super Bowl very well. I think we all do. But I remember it specifically because I had 2 prop bets that I should have cashed at the end there and didn't cash either one of them. And one of them was the last touchdown of the game would be a rushing touchdown. And the other one was that the shortest touchdown of the game, the shortest touchdown of the game would be under 1.5 yards. I had both of those props, and neither one of them cashed when they threw the ball and Malcolm Butler intercepted it. Had they handed it off to Marshawn Lynch, probably would have cashed both of those.
Yeah. I mean, you talk about just a classic example of overcoaching. They had 31 seconds left, and they had a timeout. So it's 2nd and goal.
And it wasn't even 4th down.
Second down. And this was before the tush push, so I'm not going to criticize them for not doing a quarterback sneak. But you could have run Marshawn Lynch literally 3 times in 31 seconds with a timeout. Right. And I'll walk off the field. You could stop Marshawn 3 times. I don't care if you put 10 guys on one side of the ball. God bless you, right? And they passed.
And Russell Wilson at quarterback too. That's back in the day when he could run. You could have faked it to Marshawn Lynch and bootlegged him around the corner. I mean, it just feels like the play that he tried, the slant pass, was one of the worst things you could have done in such a confined space like that. I mean, it could have been tipped. There was so much room for error, and obviously the worst possible scenario for the Seahawks occurred. But it seems like handing it to Marshawn Lynch, or even designing something for Wilson to, kind of a version of a sneak, a run, what have you, for the quarterback. It just seems like that was a much higher percentage play.
Yeah. Even when you think about, I don't know how many timeouts the Patriots had. But even from the thought of, okay, if it's not going to be a touchdown, chances are it's going to be an incompletion. And we don't want that. We want the clock running. We don't want to hand the Patriots the ball, especially with Tom Brady, right? With any seconds left. Seattle scored with 31 seconds left after the Patriots scored just before halftime. So they have to think in their head, okay, we have to be a little bit concerned about the clock. But, yeah, one of the great mysteries. We'll never find out. Maybe we'll never really find out what that's. And then who was the Patriot defensive back that got benched for the Patriots-Eagles Super Bowl? What was his name? And there were all kind of rumors.
Was that Stephon Gilmore?
No, he's a defensive back for the Patriots. Remember, he didn't play. Surprise for when there were rumors about he was out at night or something goofy like that.
It wasn't a McCourty, right?
No, it wasn't a McCourty. So I forget. It was a big story.
Our buddy Adam Kaufman would probably know, a Patriots fan.
Yeah. I mean, his defensive. Once I told you his name, it would click in. But that was the big Malcolm Butler.
No, Butler was the guy that caught the interception.
Yeah, he was the one that caught the interception. Yeah, it wasn't him. So anyway,
I can't remember who it was.
Yeah, I'll look it up in our next break. You got a bunch of props. I looked at a bunch of props. So let's go over some of these. We'll go with let's go in order that you gave it to us. Largest lead of the game, 14.5 points. I like this one. I'm in the same boat as you. You going over or under on this one?
I'm going under. Yeah, I mean, I think there's a very good chance that the Seahawks cover this number. I'm not putting all my eggs in that basket, but I don't feel that either of these teams is going to annihilate the other side. I don't even necessarily think the margin will be by double digits, whoever wins this. So if you're going to give me 14 and a hook, you're saying the largest margin of the game will be X and it's 14 plus the half. No, I'm definitely going under on that.
Yeah. I'm not going to bet that one, but I would lean that way, and I'm not going to bet it just because you have to lay the vig with the under, and you'd be surprised how many games do have leads of more than – now, that's 3 scores in essence, right, unless someone's going for 2. Right. You'd be surprised how many really do have that, but I don't think so either. I think this is going to be a nip-and-tuck game the whole way. So,
Scott,
first rushing
another thing you mentioned – and this is the same principle holds here with this next one you're going to bring up. I think when you're betting props, you have to be willing to eat some juice. They're favored for a reason because they typically happen.
Yeah. I have a few rules of thumb, which we'll go over when we go over some of the props next hour. And also one of them is if you don't know who wins or loses, then don't bet it. I'll explain. I mean, it seems like, what do you mean you don't know who wins or loses? You'd be surprised. I have a list of about 50, believe it or not, of props that, okay, do I win that prop or don't I win that prop? We'll do that next hour. So, and if you don't have the answer, then don't bet it. And I'll explain next hour. First rushing attempt, Kenneth Walker. We'll take a break. We'll come back under 3.5. That kind of coincides with what I think is going to happen first couple of drives. We'll talk to Brady about that when we come back in Game 5.
Heads or tails? Over or under? Seahawks, Patriots. Don't stress. SportsGrid breaks it all down.
They are locks.
We can capitalize.
We're going to see a ton of over money.
Props, expert guests, and smart insight leading up to the big game.
Oh my God, if Sam Darnold wins the Super Bowl.
Only on SportsGrid.
They actually play Miami and nobody else. Bum after bum after bum. Now, the key ingredient to this clause, though, Joe, college football undefeated season. Ooh, no, wait on it. You're undefeated in the regular season. You got to win like 4 games to win that championship. No, you don't. It's regular season. Notre Dame, the kings of duck, and saying, hey, we're going to play the easiest schedule ever. They got it.
The early line. Only on SportsGrid.
They weren't giving it to...
Oh, it's a good point.
They weren't giving it to Nick Bonito. No, but I'm saying Bonito's a great player.
Yeah.
But he's not a household name.
Right.
You know, you survey 100 NFL or 1,000 NFL fans, they're not picking Nick Bonito out of a hat before Myles Garrett and Micah Parsons.
Right.
And that's, you know, when you get down to this award, that's the problem.
Pro Football Today. Only on SportsGrid.
February 7th, Xfinity Mobile Arena.
This is the most entertaining fighting in fighting, man.
Fight fans of Philly! Knucklemania 6 in Philly.
right, welcome back. It is in-game live game day here on the grid. Scott and Brady Cannon in for Gabriel Morency, closing out hour number one, checking out some of the Super Bowl props. So we last left you with first rushing attempt by Kenneth Walker, under 3.5. Brady likes. Don't want to spill the beans there, Brady, but I do like this one as well because I think there's going to be a 3 and out on both sides. That's what leads to one of my other props that I like for punts in the game. But what was your decision on going under Walker first carry?
Well, obviously, Zach Charbonnet is not in the game, and we will have Helani, and I would doubt if Helani's going to get necessarily the first carry. I mean, Walker is the bell cow back there, but, New England has a pretty decent run defense. Robert Spillane, the linebacker, is a huge part of that, and he is listed as questionable. So I kind of hope he plays if I want to hit this bet. If he doesn't, this bet is maybe at a little bit more peril, but I just think all week long, 2 weeks to prepare, this defense is going to know when it looks like Kendall Walker is going to get the football. It's going to be very early in the game. It might be the very first play of the game. They're going to be all geared up to stop him. And a 4-yard run is a pretty decent run. So I would expect that first attempt for Kendall Walker to just be, couple yards, maybe 3. I just don't expect him to get to 4 yards because so many people will be ready for it, especially on the Patriots side of the ball. And again, it's like we talked about in the last segment. This one's minus 130. I think it's favored for a reason.
Yeah. Next one, we're going to be on opposite sides. Either team to score in the final 2 minutes of the first half. Which way you going on this one?
Yeah, I laid the juice here. And our next guest, Tommy Lorenzo, we've talked about this as well. You got to be willing to eat some juice. There's a reason these things are favored by a lot because they tend to happen or very rarely happen. And in this case, it happens a high percentage of the time that there is a score in the final 2 minutes of the first half. We see it all the time, a walk-off field goal before halftime, what have you. This is minus 310 on the money line. And I laid the wood here because I believe there will be yet another score in the final 2 minutes of the first half.
Yeah, I got to go the other way. I don't disagree with anything you just said. I make a list of 4, 5, 6, whatever it is, props that I'm willing to take hunches on. And you're right. Literally 8 to 9 times out of 10, there are scores in the final 2 minutes of the first half. But I think that with both these defenses being pretty good, conservative head coaches, I'm willing to take a flyer at almost 3-1 plus 270. I got that it doesn't happen. Could be wrong, but like I said, I get a group of 5 or 6 of these that I'm like, all right, if I hit one of them, I basically break even. So I'm going to try that.
And what if that field goal attempt is, goes off the upright?
No good.
Right? Yeah.
Right. Exactly. So will there be, will either team score in the final 3.5 minutes of the game? Interesting with that one. 3.5 minutes is a lot of time. I like this bet for you.
Yeah, and you're not having to lay as much juice here with the added time, like you say, 3.5 minutes. This just feels like another situation where one team is going to be, even if it's the winning team, okay, whether that be the Seahawks or the Patriots, and they tack on a field goal or something like that, or it's the team that's trying to come back and they score a garbage touchdown or whatever it is. But last 3.5 minutes of the game, minus 165, I'm saying, yes, there will be a score.
All right. But it kind of contradicts the next one, though. Maybe. Will there be a lead change in the fourth quarter? You don't think there will be a lead change, but you do have teams scoring in the final 3.5 minutes then.
Right. The way I envision this, and this is one of those prop bets where you kind of envision how you believe the game is going to play out and you bet accordingly. I can see Seattle leading this game in the fourth quarter, okay, coming into the fourth quarter with a lead. And maybe they add a touchdown or whatever. Then we get down to the final few minutes and, New England is trying to come back and Drake May throws an interception or something happens and that's the end of the game. I can kind of see that scenario as a possibility. And I found it interesting that the fact that there were not expected to be any lead changes in the fourth quarter was such a heavy favorite, minus 265. And it actually has moved. I bet this last night. I went down to the Westgate Superbook and made all my bets last night. This has actually moved to minus 270. So I'm not alone in thinking that this has a pretty good chance. And you wouldn't think that. You would think there would be lead changes in the fourth quarter, but evidently it doesn't happen all that often. And in fact, Adam Kaufman looked it up last weekend when we were doing the show, and it's maybe 20% of the Super Bowls there's been a lead change in the fourth quarter.
That's not that many, to tell you the truth. So, all right, hour number one in the books. We got our prop locks next hour, all the prop plays, and Tommy Lorenzo. Cover the Weekend podcast. Join us next.
Heads or tails? Over or under? Seahawks, Patriots. Don't stress. SportsGrid breaks it all down.
They are locks.
We can capitalize.
We're going to see a ton of over money.
Props, expert guests, and smart insight leading up to the big game.
Oh my God, if Sam Darnold wins the Super Bowl.
Only on SportsGrid.
They actually play Miami and nobody else. Bum after bum after bum. Now, the key ingredient to this clause, though, Joe, college football undefeated season. Ooh, no, wait, Donnie. You're undefeated in the regular season. You got to win like 4 games to win that championship. No, you don't. It's regular season. Notre Dame, the kings of duck, and saying, hey, we're going to play the easiest schedule ever. They got it.
The early line. Only on SportsGrid.
They weren't giving it to...
Oh, it's a good point.
They weren't giving it to Nick Bonito. No, but I'm saying Bonito's a great player.
Yeah.
But he's not a household name.
Right.
You know, you survey 100 NFL or 1,000 NFL fans, they're not picking Nick Bonito out of a hat before Myles Garrett and Micah Parsons.
Right.
And that's, you know, when you get down to this award, that's the problem.
Pro Football Today. Only on SportsGrid.
February 7th, Xfinity Mobile Arena.
This is the most entertaining fighting in fighting, man.
Fight fans of Philly! Knucklemania 6 in Philly.
All right, welcome back. It is In-Game Live Game Day here on the grid. Busy hour number 2. Scott and Brady sitting in for Gabe. We got a lot to get to, including our props. We give out a prop lock every single day this week. We'll do that again. We got a bunch of other props that we're going to go over. And you think you know sports and betting and props? Think again when I give you a list of these questions. Do you really know the answer to them? So a lot to get to over the next hour or so here. With that, let's welcome in our good buddy Tommy Lorenzo. He is the host of Cover the Weekend podcast. Follow him on Twitter at SportsbookTom, at SportsbookTom. What's going on, Tommy? How are you tonight?
Doing well. Weekends here and a lot of college hoops and, of course, Super Bowl in 48 hours. So looking forward to it for sure.
Yeah. All right. So we'll start at the top. Who's winning? And more importantly, who's covering?
Well, you know, it's tough because I don't like taking the public side. Usually you want to be on the sportsbook side, but I can't get off of Seattle here. I have them by about 7. I just think defensively they have some things that are going to disrupt Drake May. And offensively too, you know, this is a step up in class for the Patriots. I know their schedule, you know, they haven't played the best teams. That's been the narrative for them going into the playoffs and in the playoffs. But, you know, when you're facing guys like C.J. Stroud, who looked terrible in the playoffs, Jarrett Stidham, and now you get Sam Darnold in a very good offense, I just think this is a step up in class. And then you have the Seahawks who've, you know, beat Brock Purdy twice and just beat the NFL MVP in their last playoff game. So, you know, I think that's a difference there. You know, the Patriots' underlying defensive numbers look so good, though. So, you know, it was hard for me to kind of tear that Velcro and try to get away from that. But I'm really looking at, their body of work in terms of who they played and the quarterbacks they faced. So I'm on Seattle. The line isn't moving, even though everyone is betting Seattle, so that worries me a little bit, but I'm on the Seahawks.
Well, there are some fives out there in the market. And of course, the public just got to Las Vegas today, and tomorrow we'll see what they do at the window. But yeah, it does feel like there is overwhelming support for Seattle. And that kind of worries me too, Tommy. With much fanfare, we heard you have a wild parlay up your sleeve there for this game. The producers told us about it before we came on the air. Please, the big reveal. What have you got?
Sure. Well, I'm going gate to wire here using a horse racing term with the Seahawks. You can do a same game parlay at several books. The payoff's going to vary on what the money line is, but basically have Seattle going gate to wire, winning every quarter. So that's really a four-way parlay on that. You get about plus 950 on it. Some other books, you get a little better money line each quarter, so you can get over 10 to 1, sometimes 11 to 1. It just depends on the number, but right around 10 to 1 on that. If Seattle jumps out to a lead, I think they're going to keep that lead. I think it's going to be hard for the Patriots to play from behind. So I think if Seattle secures a lead, and you were talking a little bit ago about, the whole fourth quarter, Seattle goes into that fourth quarter, they're going to win this game. So I do have Seattle gate to wire here. And, if it hits, it's a nice 10 to 1. It's hard to find a 10 to 1, 11 to 1, 12 to 1 type of prop that I have a lot of confidence in, because usually those are longer shots. But this one, I think, for the price is pretty good.
Be careful with that one. I will say, I did one of those in an NBA game, a finals or playoff game, either last year or 2 years ago, Tommy, and make sure they have to have the lead or they win the quarter. Because right. I thought it was all they did was have to have the lead, and I'm thinking it was like Oklahoma City versus some lousy team, and I'm thinking, all right, they'll win from start to finish, right? But then when you read the fine print, they actually have to win that quarter. So Seattle could be leading 20-0 after the first quarter, be outscored 7-3 in the second quarter, so be leading at halftime, but you lose your bet because they lost that quarter. So if you want to follow Tommy, make sure it's like. I think, Tommy, you're betting that they're going to be leading after the first quarter, leading after the second quarter, not necessarily winning that quarter, right?
That's a very important distinction. And again, the house rules and the fine print rule when it comes to bets like this. So yeah, you're looking at them gate to wire, basically. So you have to make sure that's how you're correlating the bet and not where you're betting each individual quarter who will win. That's very important, Scott, for sure.
Tommy, a lot of people have been talking this week that maybe a better way, if you like the Seahawks or, especially if you like the Seahawks, that a better way to bet this game is to bet Sam Darnold to win the MVP rather than, laying $2 or more. You're getting plus 115 or something like that. I didn't go down that road. It kind of feels to me like maybe a sneaky pick like Kenneth Walker will get the MVP, and people are talking JSN. What are your feelings, your thoughts there on, the MVP race and that market versus, one team or the other on the money line?
Yeah, I think it's okay to dabble in the MVP market. And again, if you're going to put just small amounts on some higher numbers, I think Kenneth Walker is around 8 to 1. So you can start with that. Maybe Cooper Kupp, does what he did a few years ago and wins another Super Bowl MVP. I saw him at 85 to 1. I don't know if the number's still there. But yeah, I mean, Sam Darnold, if you like the Seahawks, he's about plus 120. But if Kenneth Walker goes off, that could easily go different ways. So I just think that number has gotten so low on quarterbacks winning MVP. The value's kind of gone away from that. But, again, if you're going to tell me bet Seattle on the money line and lay minus 230 or bet Sam Darnold MVP at a little bit of a plus number, I'm probably opting for the MVP bet.
Any props that you like that stand out?
Well, I think Seattle's defense is going to give Drake May some problems. Drake May is a great quarterback, undoubtedly, but under 37.5 rushing yards for Drake May. I don't mind going under on a quarterback that's not like a Lamar Jackson type where there may be some designed runs. There's no designed runs for Drake May. Any type of rushing yards he's going to have is going to be, broken plays or, trying to get out of the pocket. And Seattle's defense is just too quick. I just think that's a little too much in terms of Drake May rushing yards. I don't think he's going to bust. You'll need your quarterback to have like a 15, 16, 17-yard run to get to that number. The Seahawks have only allowed over 37.5 rushing yards by a quarterback twice during the regular season. That's 17 games. And the average 17 yards allowed rushing to quarterbacks in games as well. So a lot has to go different than what the Seahawks have been doing all year to get that. And this number's about at minus 113. So I like the under on Drake May rushing yards.
Yeah, Tommy, I think that is a great one that you point out in the sense that this is a prop where you can probably wait until maybe just an hour or two before kickoff and maybe even get a much better number, because what the public has seen out of Drake May, not only all season long, but especially as of late with him busting these big runs, I imagine they're going to go to the window in droves and who knows, maybe bump that number to the other side of 40. So if you haven't bet that one yet, my advice would be that's absolutely a great example of one you probably wait on.
100%. And a large majority of the unders is probably better to wait, because the public is going to bet over, especially on these, the non-obscure ones. Like, you're talking about Drake May, you're talking about the names here. If you're going under, always better to wait in the Super Bowl market, because there's going to be a flood of money this weekend in Vegas and really anywhere else. And really leading up to the game, when all these people get together and now the apps all over the country, these numbers are going to change leading up to kickoff. And that's one where you should probably wait if you're going under for sure.
I tell you, if there's been one consensus, Tommy, that of all the guests that we've had on, it's that I have not really heard anyone this week say, man, I love the under, or man, I love the over. They could say Patriots, yes, or Seattle. Same thing. Is that the same thing with you? Like, do you have a good read on whether this is going to be a higher scoring or lower scoring game?
I have the game 26-20, 27-20, so that's right around where the total is. And that's why I probably won't be getting involved with the total unless it goes, it goes up a point or two. I don't think it's going to go up that high. But another one, if you're betting the under, might want to wait a little bit, because over money will probably come in.
Yeah. Boy, Tommy, we've had two of my favorite guests on here tonight, Scott. Adam Kaplan earlier said his predicted score was 26-20. Tommy said 26-20 or 27-20. My guess is also 27-20. So good job. I hope you hit it, Tommy.
Yeah. Remember the weekend podcast, Tommy Lorenzo. Thanks, Tom.
Heads or tails? Over or under? Seahawks, Patriots. Don't stress. SportsGrid breaks it all down.
They are locks.
We can capitalize.
We're going to see a ton of over money.
Props, expert guests, and smart insight leading up to the big game.
Oh my God, if Sam Darnold wins the Super Bowl.
Only on SportsGrid.
They actually play Miami and nobody else. Bum after bum after bum. Now, the key ingredient to this clause, though, Joe, college football undefeated season. Ooh, no, wait, Donnie. You're undefeated in the regular season. You got to win like 4 games to win that championship. No, you don't. It's regular season. Notre Dame, the kings of duck, and say, hey, we're going to play the easiest schedule ever. They got it.
The early line. Only on SportsGrid.
They weren't giving it to...
Oh, it's a good point.
They weren't giving it to Nick Bonito. No, but I'm saying Bonito's a great player.
Yeah.
But he's not a household name.
Right.
You survey 100 NFL or 1,000 NFL fans, they're not picking Nick Bonito out of a hat before Myles Garrett and Micah Parsons.
Right.
And that's, when you get down to this award, that's the problem.
Pro Football Today. Only on SportsGrid.
February 7th, Xfinity Mobile Arena.
This is the most entertaining fighting in fighting, man.
Fight fans of Philly! Knucklemania 6 in Philly.
All right, welcome back. It is in-game live game day here on the grid. Scott and I was going to say Gabe, Scott and Brady sitting in for Gabe tonight. Thanks again, Tommy Lorenzo, joining us, giving out some picks and hopefully cashing. It does seem to be the consensus. We have not had anyone really come on here this week, Brady, and say, "Yeah, man, I love the over" or "I love the under." They either don't bring it up, or and if they throw out a score, it's usually right around that number. Even Tommy said, right, 26-21, 26-20. There's not that much variance from the 45.5. So it's amazing how people, they got a consensus on whether they like Seattle or New England, but not the over/under, it seems.
Yeah, and it feels to me like the majority of the people that we've spoken to prefer the Seattle side, and not necessarily with the points, but expect them to win the game. Whether they cover or not seems to be kind of a toss-up, an unknown. And the total is interesting. I tend to lean towards the over where it is right now at 45. It's pretty much a consensus 45. I was hoping we'd get to 44.5. I don't think we're going to get there, especially where we are in the week at this point, with everybody going to their destination, Las Vegas, wherever they're going to go. They're, even if they're sitting at home, they're going to get involved and they're going to make a bet. And most of those people typically are going to play the over. So I think this is probably the low point as far as the number is concerned, and it's only going to go up from here. But I thought it was interesting that a very sharp book in a faraway place opened it at 47. And I'm trusting that opening number a little bit, Scott. I know some sharp action, absolutely, for sure, came in on the under, and I get that at 47. But now where we are at 45 or so, I'm kind of trusting that original number, and who knows, this thing might hit 46, and that would probably upset a lot of bookmakers because landing right in the middle there would be tough.
Oof. That would be tough. I think there are two ways you could win if you bet the under. I'm not in love with either side. I'm not, but I'm leaning more towards the under. Brady, I think there are two ways you could win the under, and only one if you win the over. You bet the over, it's going to take two to tango, right? And I don't think Seattle's putting 40 points on the board and having this thing go over 40-10, right? You're going to need some points out of New England. You bet the under, I could see this being 20-17, two really good defenses, and the game just goes under. Or, New England's offense is as bad as, Adam Kaufman presented it to be. Not Kaufman, excuse me. Oh, God, Adam Kaufman would never do that. Adam Kaplan's, Adam Kaplan said, and it turns out to be 30-10, or 33-10, or 30-13, and New England's offense doesn't show. So I think I got two ways I can win on the under versus only one on the over. Make sense?
Yeah, it absolutely makes sense, Scott. I was just looking for team totals. I want to say New England is around 20. Let me see if I can find it here. Team total. Here we go. Okay, this is from the Westgate Superbook. Yeah. 21.5 on the Patriots. I kind of like that one under. I really think they have a good chance of scoring like 20 or less. Now, what's Seattle going to do? Are they going to get to 23, 24, 27? I'm not sure. Just based on the spread, even if New England's going to win this game, I don't see them exceeding 20 points by that much. I think that team total for the Patriots is a very good number. I see them, and that I bet accordingly. We were talking about that with Tommy Lorenzo off air. I bet the exact amount of points scored for New England, win or lose, was going to be 20. And the price on that is 10-1. It's not a huge long shot. So the books feel that number is, in the neighborhood of where they're going to land.
Mm-hmm. Let's throw out some more props here. Either team to score in the first 7.5 minutes of the game. And this is one of those bets you could bet. I've seen sites offer as little as 2.5, 3.5, 4.5. You pick your poison there. You chose 7.5 first 7.5 minutes of the game.
Yeah, I was going to go with 6.5 minutes at plus 105, but I decided to go another minute longer and lay the minus money. What was the minus price there? Minus 140 or something like that?
135 you got. Yeah.
And it actually had come down. It was minus 140. So some people betting the no, and those are, I'm sure, people that like the under. 7.5 minutes can go by pretty quickly, but I do believe there will be some points scored on this game. I mentioned I do lean ever so slightly to the over, but for half of the first quarter, I believe we're at least going to get a field goal. And that's another bet of mine, Scott, not too much further down the list here. I think the first score of the game will be something other than a touchdown. It's probably not going to be a safety, which gives you a field goal. I like that bet in the Super Bowl. I don't know what the percentages are. A touchdown must happen more often because it's a favorite. It's plus 130 that it'll be something other than a TD. But I believe that's probably where we're headed. A couple good defenses here. You stall the drive and force a field goal attempt.
How about this one? We'll go head-to-head on this one. Shortest touchdown of the game. We talked about this a little bit earlier in the week when you were sitting in for Gabe. You like the under 1.5. I like the over 1.5. Why are you on the under?
Well, the year or the age of the tush push, right? I mean, again, it's a decent sized favorite. What is it, minus 150 or so?
Yeah.
Because it tends to happen. You get a pass interference in the end zone, and next thing you know, they're at the 1 yard line. And the other thing that's interesting, the last 3 times the Patriots, and this doesn't necessarily mean a whole lot, but the last 3 times the Patriots and the Seahawks have met, there has been a touchdown inside the 1 yard line. So I kind of feel it's just going to happen again, not only because of that, because it happens more often than not.
It really does. It's one of those where I always bet the over. I just do because I'm stubborn. I got Polish, Italian, all kind of mixed blood inside me, all kind of fighting, right? So I'm just as stubborn as a mule. But you would be surprised if you looked at box scores, how many times and you said it, it's pass interference. More times than not, it's pass interference, in the end zone, and they mark it at the 1 yard line, and boom, there's your 1 yard touchdown. But it does happen quite a bit. It really does. Hence, that's why it's such a favorite. If you just think naturally, of course it's not going to have a 1 yard. What are the odds of a guy getting tackled inside the 1? It's because they're getting pass interference in the end zone. That's what sets it up. So, quick little break. I got a bunch that I found, and sometimes the best bet is one you don't make. Here's some props that I'm going to suggest you stay away from when we come back in Game 5.
Heads or tails? Over or under? Seahawks, Patriots. Don't stress. SportsGrid breaks it all down.
They are locks.
We can capitalize.
We're going to see a ton of over money.
Props, expert guests, and smart insight leading up to the big game.
Oh my God, if Sam Darnold wins the Super Bowl.
Only on SportsGrid.
They actually play Miami and nobody else. Bum after bum after bum. Now, the key ingredient to this clause, though, Joe, college football undefeated season. Ooh, no, wait, Donnie. You're undefeated in the regular season. You got to win like 4 games to win that championship. No, you don't. It's regular season. Notre Dame, the kings of duck, and say, hey, we're going to play the easiest schedule ever. They got it.
The Early Line. Only on SportsGrid.
They weren't giving it to...
Oh, it's a good point.
They weren't giving it to Nick Bonito. No, but I'm saying Bonito's a great player.
Yeah.
But he's not a household name.
Right.
You survey 100 NFL or 1,000 NFL fans, they're not picking Nick Bonito out of a hat before Myles Garrett and Micah Parsons.
Right.
And that's, when you get down to this award, that's the problem.
Pro Football Today. Only on SportsGrid.
February 7th, Xfinity Mobile Arena.
This is the most entertaining fighting in fighting, man.
Fight fans of Philly! Knucklemania 6 in Philly.
welcome back. It is in-game live game day here on the grid. Scott and Brady sitting in for Gabe tonight. Let's take a peek before we get back to the NFL props and everything else. Let's take a peek at the scoreboard here. NBA. Celtics have made a bit of a run. The Knicks look like they have no interest in being in Detroit. Celtics down big early. What did they get down like 19? I think 18, 19. It's down to 3. 72-69. Not a high-scoring game, which is rare for a Miami game. Late third quarter. So Celtics actually back to being favorites. We told you earlier, grab them plus the 8.5 or so. If you want to do a fat little middle or just hold on to the +8, you can do that. But they're like I said, they're down 3 and they're favored by 1.5. Knicks, meanwhile, get blown out by Detroit, 83-54. Final couple of minutes of the third quarter. No cat tonight, and they're not showing any heart whatsoever. Teacups leading the Pelicans 70-56. I know you're on Minnesota. They just started the third quarter. My under hunch not looking too good. It's at 240.5. And Milwaukee leads Indiana 66-52 as they close out. Actually, just start basically the third quarter. So, yeah, your Minnesota bet's looking pretty good there, Brady, right?
Yeah, but your Milwaukee side is looking a lot better than my Indiana side.
Yeah. It's early.
St. John's and Connecticut. This has really been, as the point spread indicated, this has been a close game throughout. This is the biggest lead for either team here. Just about 5 minutes into the second half, and St. John's up by 5 points, 50-45, and they're a 3.5-point favorite in the live market. That total is on an over pace at 151.5, and I know that was the side you liked as far as the total was concerned. So good for both of us right now. I like the Johnnies, you like over the total.
All right, a couple of plays here. Back to the football stuff, right? So some of these are you have initial thoughts, and then you do the research, and you're like, oh, all right, that's why the line is as it is. Total first downs in a game, Brady. They have 38.5. And my initial thought was, man, that's a lot of first downs, right? I looked it up. Patriots regular season, their game averaged 39 first downs. Seahawks regular season, their games averaged 37 first downs. I mean, right smack in the middle, right? I will say that in the postseason, though, Seattle's games have averaged 27 and Patriot games have averaged 26. So that's a good 10 first downs, right? So
yeah. It's interesting that there's that much of a disparity, but you know how it is in the playoffs, whether it's baseball and pitching or hockey or, defense, everything tightens up and it's not so freewheeling. I can kind of understand that, why there are less first downs.
Yeah. Highest scoring half. We had a couple of guys earlier in the week say that they liked the second half, right? It was minus 120, 130 or whatever. And I agreed. I wanted to look it up, though. Surprisingly enough, Seattle, 19 games, including the playoff games, 10, 8, and 1 more points in the first half. And that's like 50-50. Okay. How about New England, Brady? 14-6. They've had more points in the first half in 14 of their 20 games. That's a combined 24, 14, and 1. I'm still going to bet the under first downs, but I'm not going to bet the under first half or higher scoring second half, rather.
And I think it is a little bit of a Super Bowl phenomenon as well, that you tend to get more scoring in the second half. I think for the most part that is true throughout the entire season. And I believe these statistics that you have for Seattle and New England are a little bit of an outlier. But you also have that phenomenon in the Super Bowl that the team that's losing – eventually, at some point, especially if that margin is fairly wide, they realize that their season has kind of come to a close and it's done. And they might not score again, where you have the other team kind of, piling on a little bit. It's not so much like that anymore. But you remember when, Super Bowls used to be a blowout with the Cowboys and the 49ers. And now it's much more competitive. But, that was kind of true for a long time, that you did get some late scoring there because one team was pretty much cooked. But the one you talk about with the first downs, I wouldn't mess with that one either. That seems too – I don't see a big edge either way in that one.
Yeah. How about a scoregami? What's that, Scott? That's a unique final score that's never been had in any NFL game, not just playoff and not just Super Bowl, right? I looked it up, Brady. they're only giving you 25 to 1. Unless you get a 2, a 5, or a 9, there aren't too many scores that we haven't had in NFL history. We'll talk more about it on the other side. It's really
Crazy bet.
for 25 to 1. Then they should be giving you 250 to 1. To tell you the truth.
Heads or tails? Over or under? Seahawks, Patriots. Don't stress. SportsGrid breaks it all down.
They are locks.
We can capitalize.
We're going to see a ton of over money.
Props, expert guests, and smart insight leading up to the big game.
Oh my God, if Sam Darnold wins the Super Bowl.
Only on SportsGrid.
They actually play Miami and nobody else. Bum after bum after bum. Now, the key ingredient to this clause, though, Joe, college football undefeated season. Ooh, no, wait, Donnie. You undefeated in the regular season, you got to win like 4 games to win that championship. No, you don't. It's regular season. Notre Dame, the kings of duck, and say, hey, we're going to play the easiest schedule ever. They got it.
The Early Line. Only on SportsGrid.
They weren't giving it to.
Oh, it's a good point.
They weren't giving it to Nick Bonito. No, but I'm saying Bonito's a great player.
Yeah.
But he's not a household name.
Right.
You know, you survey 100 NFL or 1,000 NFL fans, they're not picking Nick Bonito out of a hat before Myles Garrett and Micah Parsons.
Right.
And that's, you know, when you get down to this award, that's the problem.
Pro Football Today. Only on SportsGrid.
February 7th, Xfinity Mobile Arena.
This is the most entertaining fighting in fighting, man.
Fight fans of Philly! Knucklemania 6 in Philly.
All right, welcome back. It is In-Game Live Game Day here on the grid. Scott and Brady sitting in for Gabe as we go over some NFL props. Keeping an eye on the baskets as well, especially the St. John's game. So no hockey, obviously, tonight, and very little college basketball. Only a couple really NBA games, and 3 of them are blowouts. So, but we'll take a peek at that from time to time. So more plays here, Brady, that so we're going to throw out the scoregami. They're just not giving you, like I said, if you Google the scores, it's got to be something really weird. 9-8, 5-4. Otherwise, we've seen it, right?
It feels to me, Scott, like if you're going to play anything that is kind of, for fun, that's off the beaten path, you could come up with a better one than that one. I mean, that's there's not much chance of that happening, I would imagine.
Yeah, and they're just not giving you value, right? I hate that phrase, but it like I said, that maybe not 250 to 1, but that should be at least 150 to 1. It really should when you look at the scores that are available. So, will there be a score in the last play of the game? Basically, will there be a walk-off homer here? Yes is 10.5 to 1. I saw on FanDuel, plus 1060. What do you think?
No thanks.
I think it's going to be a close game. But again, I got to get more.
The price, the price maybe feels a little bit low. Doesn't feel that off, but it also feels to me like the casual fan that wants to see a thrilling finish is going to get involved in that bet. But the truth is, it's 10 to 1 because it doesn't happen all that often. So it'd be a stay away from me.
All right. This is another little surprise. 4th down conversion, successful. Not just attempts, but successful. You can bet this 2 ways. You could bet it total, which is 1.5, which is what I would do, over 1.5, or you could go both teams. So if New England has 2, you lose your bet with this way. But that's yes is plus 255. So I looked it up. Patriots have had 18 conversions out of 25 attempts, so won a game. So that's not too bad. Surprisingly enough, Brady, Seattle has only had 7 fourth down conversions out of 22 attempts all year. That has got to be near the rock bottom. It just has to be. I mean, 7, right? I mean, so
we were looking
I'm going to
at
go with the over 1.5. Yeah, you are? Okay.
Yeah. And I didn't know that either. I mean, it kind of seems like a no-brainer the way it's just become so prolific in the NFL these days. But yes, Seattle, I think Seattle actually was dead last in the league as far as maybe not only fourth down success, but maybe even fourth down attempts. They just don't do it that much, successful or not. So yeah, that's definitely one I would stay away from as well.
Here's another one. It's amazing how you know, when your mind is set on betting it, Scott, I don't care. I don't care if the facts say yes and you're going to bet no, or, this is one of those. Number of players to make a pass attempt in the game, 2.5, right? Obviously, Darnold's going to throw one and Drake May's obviously going to throw one. So can we get one more guy? The over 2.5 is plus 135. So I did the research, and I figured there's got to be, the option passes, with a wide receiver or a backup quarterback, right? I'm sure it happened a lot. We could get that plus money. I looked it up. Joshua Dobbs has a couple for the Patriots, no running back, no wide receiver. Seattle, same thing. Their backup quarterback has a couple, and Cooper Kupp has one. That's it. One. So it has been just, Drake May and Sam Darnold. But that said, I'm going over. I'll take my chances. One of these two gets put in concussion protocol for a couple of downs. Maybe we have an option pass. Maybe there's a blowout and we get the backups. I'm hooked to plus money. Even though the facts say no, I'm going to go yes on this one, Brady.
I don't think it's a bad play, Scott. And I was listening to a good friend of mine who's an extremely sharp bettor, Randy McKay. We had him on the show last week, and he likes this over as well. And it's not just the reasoning with Joshua Dobbs and the backup Drew Lock and, a concussion or whatever it is. But Stephon Diggs can throw passes. There are, you mentioned Cooper Kupp. There are a few other guys on each team that can possibly. Kenneth Walker Jr., I believe, has thrown passes before. And this is what we see in the Super Bowl, right? I mean, these teams are looking at 18 games worth of tape, more than that now that you've got a couple of playoff games under your belt as well. And what do we see in the Super Bowl? We see the Philly specials. We see last year, was it last year, the year before, Juwan Jennings throws to Christian McCaffrey. So, you've got to come up with something new that nobody's ever seen before. I think it's a good time to make a bet like this because and you've got two extremely creative offensive coordinators too, in Josh McDaniels and Clint Kubiak. So I wouldn't be surprised at all if you hit that one. And the book's telling you that it's not all that outlandish at just plus 135.
Yeah. Here's another one that I think most people would be like, no. Last play of the game, will it be a kneel down? Yes is minus 165. You know what?
Yeah.
This is one of those where you talked about you got to lay money. Sometimes you'd be surprised, folks, how many times the last play of the game is not a kneel down.
Right.
More times than not, it is. I like the yes on that one. I'm going to lay the juice.
Yeah. I don't know. Do you have the numbers on how often or not it happens? Because
I don't.
Okay. Because the price seems a little expensive to me. Like, how I wonder, does it happen? I mean, obviously it happens more than half the time. No, but I'm with you. Yeah. I would probably, because it does happen more often than not. So, that's another one of those props where you kind of have to bank on it's going to happen again, and it's priced this way because it happens all the time. Yeah, no, I think it's different than just betting a point spread or a money line. I mean, these proposition bets, it's a totally different market. And like, will there be overtime is, 10-1 or will each team convert a 2-point conversion is 50 to 1. And those are the bets that the general public runs to the window and they want to turn $10 into 1,000. There's a reason why it's like that. It never happens, hardly ever. The pros come in and lay big money to win a little. I mean, at the end of the day, you're just trying to turn a profit, right? So, it just goes into the theory we're talking about that, in this type of market, sometimes you have to lay the juice because those things happen more often than not.
Yeah. All right. Here's one you can have a flyer on for $5. That's my last category is locks, things I like, hunches, and then all right, let's have some fun for $5. Will any player score an octopus? What does that stop? Is a player scores a touchdown and scores a 2-point conversion on that same drive, not later in the game, right? So it's
Same
only
player.
9-1. Yeah, same player, so same drive, right? It's only 9-1. I wouldn't bet that. But I would put a flyer on Drake May to score an octopus at 200 to 1.
Wow.
He scrambles. He does the tush push. And I could see, he has a 2-point conversion, 2-pointer this year already. They only have 4. He's got one of the 4. So for 200 to 1, he scrambles for a touchdown. He's all pumped up. And they say, okay, let's do it again. For $5, you win yourself $1,000.
Or they pull out the Philly special for the 2-point conversion. No, 200 to 1 seems like a relatively fair price. The other guy I immediately thought of that would be a candidate for that would be JSN, Jackson Smith and Jigba. He catches a touchdown pass and then you throw to him again for a 2-pointer.
Yeah, that's true. Really any wide receiver, right? You would think. Seattle's only had 3 2-point conversions, and New England's only had 4. So neither one of these teams really has had that many. But again, you take 2 of the most prominent players. Yeah, a couple bucks, right? So you think you know sports, you think you know gambling, think you know props, right? All right. We'll put you to the test. We'll take a break. We'll come back, and I'll throw a bunch of props out there, Brady, that hopefully you have the answer to. I have the answer to some, but you'd be surprised, is that a winner or is it not a winner? We'll let you know when we come back.
Heads or tails? Over or under? Seahawks, Patriots. Don't stress. SportsGrid breaks it all down.
They are locks.
We can capitalize.
We're going to see a ton of over money.
Props, expert guests, and smart insight leading up to the big game.
Oh my God, if Sam Darnold wins the Super Bowl.
Only on SportsGrid.
They actually play Miami and nobody else. Bum after bum after bum. Now, the key ingredient to this clause, though, Joe, college football undefeated season. Ooh, no, wait, Donnie. You go undefeated in the regular season, you got to win 4 games to win that championship. No, you don't. It's regular season. Notre Dame, the kings of duck, and say, hey, we're going to play the easiest schedule ever. They got it.
The Early Line. Only on SportsGrid.
They weren't giving it to...
Oh, it's a good point.
They weren't giving it to Nick Bonito. No, but I'm saying Bonito's a great player.
Yeah.
But he's not a household name.
Right.
You survey 100 NFL or 1,000 NFL fans, they're not picking Nick Bonito out of a hat before Myles Garrett and Micah Parsons.
Right.
And that's, when you get down to this award, that's the problem.
Pro Football Today. Only on SportsGrid.
February 7th, Xfinity Mobile Arena.
This is the most entertaining fighting in fighting, man.
Fight fans of Philly! Knucklemania 6 in Philly.
right, welcome back. It is In-Game Live Game Day here on the Grid. Scott and Brady sitting in for Gabe tonight. So you think you know props, you think you know gambling, and this is easy stuff, right? One of my general rules of thumb is if you don't know the answer to the question, don't bet it. What do you mean, Scott? You either win or you lose. What are you talking about, right? All right. Let me throw a couple out there, Brady. Let's see if you know the answers. Some of these I do, some of these I don't. That's why usually we have a guy on that explains it. The general rule of thumb is it depends on your book. So if you really want to make these bets, just know the answer and call your book because each book seems to be different. So how about this one? We talked about over under people making a pass attempt, right? Okay, we want to go over 2.5. We obviously got Brady, or we have Darnold and Drake May. What if there's a 2-point conversion try and the guy throws a pass? One of the running backs. Does that count?
Yeah,
I don't think it does. No, it doesn't.
Yeah, that's pretty tough. Yeah, I mean, obviously you have to read the fine print, and I don't know the answer. Like you say, I'm not going to just assume and make a bet. You got to ask before you get down on that one.
But I don't think it does. So don't be frustrated.
No, I would say generally it probably doesn't. You're right.
Yeah. How about the kneel down, right? We talked about that. I'm going to bet the last play of the game. I'm going to lay minus 165 on a kneel down being the last play of the game. What happens if the quarterback takes a few steps, a la Patrick Mahomes a couple of years ago, and loses 3-4 yards? Does that count as a kneel down, Scott? He does kneel down. So I would think yes, but I could see a book say, no, that's not a kneel down. He lost 5 yards. How the hell can a loss of 5 yards be a kneel down? Right?
It's a sack. And that's the other thing.
Yeah.
Do they count it as a sack? If you're betting under or over the number of sacks. If he kind of scrambles around to kill some time and then falls down, is that a kneel down or is that a sack? Yeah. Certainly an unknown.
How about total turnovers in the game? All right. You bet the over or the under. Does an onside kick recovered by the kicking team count as a turnover from the receiving team?
I would have to say no, because the team that's kicking off is in possession at that point, aren't they? I don't know that, but you're right. That's a gray area for sure.
All right. Which team calls, and maybe that's the key, which team calls a timeout first? So what's the issue, Scott? Say a team loses a challenge. They lose a timeout.
Right.
Does that count as calling a timeout?
I doubt it, but you're right.
I don't think so either. I would say no, because it does says call, but I'd be careful. These are goofy, right? But these are goofy, but I'm telling you, every single year they come up. They really do.
Oh, yeah.
How about a fake punt or a fake field goal and they score a touchdown, right? So what's the question? Does that count as a special teams touchdown?
I would say yes. Yeah?
I would say no.
Okay.
I would say right.
So a fake, you're saying. A fake. Right.
Yeah, so they line up for a field goal or a punt, and they throw the ball, they score.
Well, that's really interesting, isn't it? Because you're right.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily a special teams touchdown, but it's a special teams play.
But it is.
Yeah. Right. That's a goofy one for sure.
Yeah. All right. Will there be a successful 2-point conversion try? That seems pretty simple. What's the problem?
Straightforward, right?
What could go wrong, Scott? The defensive team intercepts the ball. They can run it back for 2 points. They do. Does that count as a successful 2-point conversion try? It doesn't say offense.
No. Right.
I would think no also, but it is 2 points. It is the conversion.
You know what this is making me think, Scott? The busiest
game.
the busiest entity in the continental United States is going to be the Nevada Gaming Commission on Monday, because they've got to sort all this stuff out. You're going to have people that dispute stuff. It didn't say offense or defense; it just said 2 points.
Right.
So but I imagine there will be some stuff that goes to gaming control at the end of this.
Yeah. How about total number of players to score? if a field goal kicker kicks an extra point, does that count?
I
don't
think it does. Oh, okay. Because they count those, for how many points Adam Vinatieri had in his career. Those count as scoring points. That's a really interesting one.
Yeah.
You would think there might be some fine print on there that it excludes extra points or something. I don't know.
How about one like I'm going to play total punts in the game? Does a block punt count as a punt?
If there's a tree in the forest.
Yeah, right? I know it would if it landed beyond the line of scrimmage, but would it if it lands? I don't think it does if they actually blocked the punt. If it goes forward, yes. If it's actually blocked and behind the line of scrimmage, then it would be no. But how about blocked field goals or missed field goals? Does a blocked field goal try as a field goal attempt?
I would think so. I would think that counts as a miss. Yes,
I would think so. Right?
Yeah.
Here's the one
that's pretty interesting, though. That's pretty interesting.
Yeah. Here's one that I'm sure all the books are praying for that don't happen, Brady, and that is you make a bet. You can bet on what the first play from scrimmage will be, run or a pass. Say it's a run. There's an offensive holding penalty. Next play is a pass.
Yeah.
What's the first official play, a run or a pass?
Gosh, that's a nightmare. I would imagine the books don't want that to happen because then you just have controversy. Yeah, that's
right.
And hopefully there's not a penalty on the first play of the game either.
Yeah, exactly. That's what. And believe it's happened a couple of times. It really has because every time I see it, I laugh. I'm like, oh, the boys in Vegas are going to be upset about this. So, yeah. So you got some goofy ones there, but
Those
like I said,
you came up with a lot of them, man.
Yeah, every once in a while something else will pop in my brain, and they do come up. So be careful, and if you don't know the answer, like I said, call your book. Otherwise, I would suggest don't bet it. All right, our final place when we come back and get live.
Heads or tails? Over or under? Seahawks, Patriots. Don't stress. SportsGrid breaks it all down.
They are locks.
We can capitalize.
We're going to see a ton of over money.
Props, expert guests, and smart insight leading up to the big game.
Oh my God, if Sam Darnold wins the Super Bowl.
Only on SportsGrid.
They actually play Miami and nobody else. Bum after bum after bum. Now, the key ingredient to this clause, though, Joe, college football undefeated season. Ooh, no, wait, Donnie. You're undefeated in the regular season. You got to win like 4 games to win that championship. No, you don't. It's regular season. Notre Dame, the kings of duck, and saying, hey, we're going to play the easiest schedule ever. They got it.
The Early Line. Only on SportsGrid.
They weren't giving it to...
Oh, it's a good point.
They weren't giving it to Nick Bonito. No, but I'm saying Bonito's a great player.
Yeah.
But he's not a household name.
Right.
You know, you survey 100 NFL or 1,000 NFL fans, they're not picking Nick Bonito out of a hat before Myles Garrett and Micah Parsons.
Right.
And that's, you know, when you get down to this award, that's the problem.
Pro Football Today. Only on SportsGrid.
February 7th, Xfinity Mobile Arena.
This is the most entertaining fighting in fighting, man.
Fight fans of Philly! Knucklemania 6 in Philly.
All right, welcome back. It is In-Game Live Game Day here on the grid. Fast 2 hours. Thanks to Brady Cannon sitting in for Gabe Morency today. So last chance to throw out a couple of plays here. Every day this week, Brady, I've been giving out a lock prop play. So let me throw that out there, and we'll get some final thoughts from you. Just to recap mine, earlier in the week, on Monday, I said do Drake May and Sam Darnold to throw an interception separately. If you get both to do it, you break or you win money. At worst, you break even because I'm positive one of these two are throwing an interception. So I like that one. I had over 26.5 yards receiving Matt Collins for the Patriots. He's hit this number in 9 of his last 11 games, including 2 weeks ago in that slop in Denver, believe it or not. So I don't know how he's not getting 27. Seems to be healthy. Wednesday, we gave out Seattle over 3.5 punts at plus 110. In basically all the non-blowout games, they've had 4 punts or more. I don't think this is going to be a blowout game. I really like that one a lot. Could go, game for the both teams combined 7.5 if you want. Yesterday we gave out lost fumbles over 1.5 at plus 215. The way Drake May carries that football like it's a loaf of bread, I could easily see 2 fumbles from him alone, let alone both teams combined. And then today I got to go team with the most sacks. You got to lay a little juice. It's a little high, but we're giving you all the others that are basically even money or plus money. I'm going to go with Seattle minus 190. They were tied for 7th, I believe it is, in sacks this season with 47. Patriots are near the rock bottom. Literally, there's only like a handful of teams that have had less sacks than the New England Patriots. It's amazing they're in the Super Bowl. They've given up 15 sacks in the 3 postseason games, 5 apiece. They haven't gotten 5 sacks. So, and if it's a tie, it's a push. So give me Seattle, most sacks in the game, minus 190 as our lock play of the day.
I like that one, Scott, because it is a little bit deceiving as well. From what we have seen as of late, the Patriots pass rush has looked like world beaters in the playoffs. But let's remember, they were playing a Chargers offensive line that had nobody. They were playing a lousy Texans offensive line that had nobody. So all of a sudden, they've looked like they're a sack machine. But you're right, they did not have a good pass rush throughout the entire season. So that might even be a little bit of a discount on Seattle there at minus 190. I've got 5 that I really like. We talked about the first rushing attempt for Kenneth Walker. I think it'll be under 3.5 yards just because that defensive unit for New England will be very focused and ready for that play. I think A.J. Barner, the tight end for the Seattle Seahawks, is a good play for anytime touchdown at plus 240. Shortest touchdown of the game, I like under 1.5 yards at minus 150. I'm with you on the interceptions. I like Drake May to throw an interception. The yes on Drake May to throw an interception should be in the neighborhood of about minus 140. And then finally, another one that I just added today that we talked about at the beginning of the show, largest lead of the game, 14.5 points. I'll go under. I think the largest lead of the game will be less than that. You got to lay a little bit of juice on that one as well, minus 150.
Mm-hmm. If you guys are interested in betting the coin toss and the Gatorade Bash, right? I'll throw this out to you. 59 Super Bowls. Tails has won 31, heads 28. Tails has won 5 in a row. If you want to bet streaks, the team that wins the coin toss is 26 and 33. If you want to buy into that, including 2 and 9, the last 11. If you think that has anything to do with who wins and loses. Gatorade color. Since last 17, orange has had the most, 5, but none since 2020. Yellow, purple, blue, and clear all have had 4 apiece. So it's basically dead even. There is no real, if you're into the Gatorade Bash.
This is one we threw out on Wednesday. Yeah, the national anthem. At BetMGM, it was 119.5 seconds. And 88% of the tickets were on the over.
Wow. I will tell you now. It opened up at 2. Even the national anthem line moves. It's crazy. It opened up at 2 minutes and 5 seconds. So I have a whole bunch of stats if we go in under
sharp
2
money,
minutes and 5.
Sharp money on the
sharp money's on the under on the national anthem. So ultimately, Brady, who do you got winning and covering?
27-20. That was my predicted score in favor of your 2025 national champion Seattle Seahawks. We'll see if you get a little redemption from the Malcolm Butler play a few years ago.
Yeah. I got New England winning 21-17, kind of sticks on my brain. I'm not exactly sure why, but I think the Patriots win, and I think people will just be saying, yeah, they beat a bunch of nobodies, and they beat Sam Darnold with 3 interceptions. Big deal. Well, you know what? Patriots will have another Super Bowl championship. Brady, great job, man. Do appreciate you stepping in for a game. Do it again soon.